Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. And this is we welcome back for the 2020, our first broadcast of the year. And I am pleased to be joined by Bethune Cookman baseball coach, Jonathan Hernandez. And before we bring Coach on here, okay, there may be a baseball lockout going on with Major League Baseball. We don't have a lockout going on tonight. We are talking baseball in the heart of the football season. And Coach, glad to have you on the broadcast.
Scott, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And absolutely, there could be a lockout in Major League Baseball, but there's definitely not a lockout here at Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach.
No doubt about it. And you want to know how Coach Hernandez and I hooked up, folks? Okay, we met on Twitter at Tribune South. So I'm gonna give our Twitter plug right away at Tribune South. And Coach Hernandez was nice enough to follow us, and as a result, that's why you have us on tonight. And Coach, first of all, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of background with yourself.
Yeah, so Johnny Hernandez. I'm from Hialeah, Florida, down in South Florida. It's a heavy populated with Cuban population. Everything we get down there is earned. Nothing's ever given. So I wear that close to my heart and on my sleeve everywhere I go to represent them. But played high school baseball at Hialeah Senior High School. Fortunate enough to be a part of 2 state championships and 3 state runs in 3 years that I was there. Went to go play college at Bethune University, Division II program down at Miami Shores, Florida, under Coach Juan Renero. Got hurt as a pitcher. My time of I guess being healthy was up, and I hurt my elbow at that time. So I decided to transfer to a small school in Jackson, Tennessee, called Lambeth University. It was an eye-opening experience for me, getting out of the comforts of South Florida and being there in Jackson, Tennessee, and had a phenomenal time up there with Coach Wayne Alberry, who currently right now is a head coach at Peru State University up in Nebraska. And he's also the athletic director there. And he's done a great job with that program, as he did at Lambeth University. And we're still in contact, with each other. From there in 2004, 2005, I decided I wanted to, give baseball coaching an opportunity. This is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to give back to the game. And I was fortunate enough to start coaching at the high school level. Did that for a few years. I was able to get back to Hialeah Senior High School to coach there. And, we took the team in my second year there at Hialeah High School. We went to the state championships, the state Final Four. And we actually got upended there by Jack Lopez. If baseball fans know who he is, he was on Team USA this past year with one of their premier teams. And, he's going to be a big leaguer. So did that, and, doors opened up, worked with USA Baseball, worked as a scout for USA Baseball, identifying talent for their 15 and under, 14 and under baseball teams to compete internationally to represent the red, white, and blue. Fortunate enough at that time also, I was a pitching coach with the 14 and under national team during my time with USA Baseball, my experience. From that opened up the door to become a head baseball coach at a junior college at ASA Miami. It was a great experience. Was there for 4 or 5 years, started the program from the ground up. Learned a lot through my time there. And, from there, I was able to land, here at Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach.
Yeah, let's talk about Bethune-Cookman, Coach. Okay, how did you get the job at Bethune-Cookman? Did you have anybody that gave you a referral and put in a good word for you?
Yeah, just went through the process, right? Coach Melendez, who was a Bethune-Cookman Hall of Famer here at Bethune-Cookman, who's currently the head coach at FIU. We spent some time together working with USA Baseball, identifying talent, for kids to have an opportunity to wear the red, white, and blue across their chest. And that relationship flourished into a friendship, man. And, when the opportunity came for, Bethune-Cookman to look for a head coach, I asked Coach Melendez if there's an opportunity there and what it meant and what it will mean to become the head coach of Bethune-Cookman. And I submitted my information, and then was contacted by the athletic director at the time, Mr. Lynn Thompson, and his sidekick was Brian Harvey. Went through the interview process. I believe it was like 2 or 3 interviews, if I'm not mistaken. And, long behold, long story short, was named the head coach at Bethune-Cookman University. I'm very blessed and fortunate to be in that position.
Very nice. Well, all right, you coach, you've been at this school for 4 years. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you've faced so far.
There's challenges everywhere you go, whether that's coaching high school, coaching junior college, or even at the 4-year level, there's always challenges that, it's going to present itself. But for me personally, being here for 4 years, I mean, we all know that COVID impacted everybody in 2020. It cut our season short. And I think that was going to be a good year for our program with the recruiting class that we brought in at the time. Was ranked 59th in the country. Out of 300 Division I baseball programs, being in the top 60, it speaks volumes of the talent that our coaching staff and myself were able to bring into Daytona Beach. So everyone got impacted. Then, fall of 2020, we're getting ready to get going to get prepared for our season in 2021. And, our administration, they decided that it was in the best interest of the students, the university population, to opt out of athletics for 2020 and 2021 year. So there's challenges everywhere you go, but it's how you respond to them. Once adversity hits, you're either going to crawl in a corner or you're going to rise above that. And I think at this point where our program is at and where we're headed, we're definitely going to rise above the adversity that our program and definitely our university has faced within the last 3 years, to say the least.
Well, looking ahead a little bit, folks, just so you know that Bethune Cookman starts the 2020 season on February 18th. You'll be taking on Youngstown State over at Jackie Robinson Ballpark. Want to get that out there early. So for those of you folks that are in the Daytona Beach area, go out there and check out Jackie Robinson Park, and you'll be able to see Bethune Cookman take on Youngstown State out of Ohio. Once again, that date, February 18th, 2022. Want to get that in early. With that said, okay, I'm not going to ask you a question. I'm going to give you a compliment this time. Okay. You came out with some facts earlier where I'm impressed about the fall team GPA that you guys have collectively with a 3.24 grade point average. You want to talk about student athlete, folks, this is it. But it gets deeper than this, okay? These are some impressive numbers. You've had 6 consecutive semesters of 3.0 or better, 6 players with a 4.0 grade point average, 7 players with a 3.5 to 3.99 grade point average, and 11 players with a 3 to 3.49 grade point average. Coach, that everybody realizes that the odds of getting to the big leagues are long anyhow. But when we talk about a student athlete, these grade point averages are extremely impressive.
Absolutely. It comes down to, ownership and accountability. We all know that baseball is going to come to an end at some point. We don't know whether that is after college. If, any of our baseball players or anyone in the country has an opportunity to go into professional baseball, the odds of making a Major League Baseball team and sustaining your career at the big league level, it's a lot. And not a lot of people get to do that. I think you wouldn't be able to fill Major League Stadium with the all-time players that have reached the major leagues. So for us, it's putting everything in perspective, and it's at some point all of our baseball players are student athletes, so to say. They're going to be fathers, they're going to be husbands, they're going to be role models in their own community. So we all know that baseball is going to come to an end, but the one thing that can't be taken away is that degree they have up on the wall. I myself, I'm going through the master's program at Bethune Cookman. And it gives an opportunity for me to be in the trenches with our players. But at the same time, it gives me as a father an opportunity to present the situation with my own 2 children, with my son, with my daughter, where, hey, you've got dad over here who's got a full-time job, and he's got a baseball club that he's got to run, but, I want to go ahead and continue to pursue my education, to be an example for my own 2 children, and as well, the 35, 36 guys I have in that clubhouse. I'm a role model to them. So if this is something they can continue their education, where they can provide for their families and have sustainable success at the next level and assist them in their development, not only on the field, but off the field, I'm all for that. And it's proven with, the amount of success we've had on the academic side here at Bethune-Cookman University with the Wildcats baseball program.
Well, we'll talk about what you're doing with your master's program with your student athletes. There's only one word that really defines that, Coach: duplication. Duplication, folks. and what you're doing there is very, very impressive. All right, so let's talk about Coach Hernandez playing in a state like Florida, the Sunshine State, where you got Florida State University, University of Florida, University of South Florida, my alma mater, by the way, Florida Atlantic University, Miami, and of course, Florida International University. But is this a good way to gauge your program against some of the best competition in the state, knowing that players here in Florida can play on a year-round basis?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that we're blessed also and fortunate to be within driving distance to continue to challenge our program and to, try and reach new heights within our baseball program here at Bethune Cookman. So, the fact that we're able to play against quality non-conference competition like University of Miami, University of Florida, Florida State, FIU, FAU, Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, you have a team, down at Tampa, University of South Florida, who made the Super Regionals last season for the first time in school history, and they're on our schedule. So it's a very competitive schedule. And, I like it because it brings out the best in our players. If we want to achieve what's never been done before, and that's be the first HBCU baseball program to win a regional, we have to put our players in that situation. Because as you know, if we go to the regional tournament, we're going to 3 sites. We're going down to Miami, we're going up to Tallahassee at Florida State, or we're going to go to Gainesville at the University of Florida. It's tough, but if we put our players in that position and we continuously push our players to be the best versions of themselves day in and day out, everything will take care of itself. And it's like we know, right? In order, you want to be comfortable in an uncomfortable setting.
Well, in my backyard, you have Florida Atlantic University, coached by John McCormack. And before John McCormack came involved, I know that you're probably not familiar with Kevin Cooney, who built the program that John McCormack inherited. Do you have any kind of a relationship with FAU? I know you said earlier that you're not playing them this year, but your goal is to get them back on the following year. Is that correct?
Yeah, our goal is to play every in-state opponent that we can, as long as the schedule matches up to not only Bethune Cookman, but our opponents as well and other institutions. But, Coach McCormack is a great person. I've had the pleasure of meeting him and speaking to him, whether it's on the recruiting trail or some of the several USA baseball events. And one of our Wildcat alumni is actually working under Coach McCormack right now as serving as a director of baseball operations. So great person, great human being, and he's just a pleasure to be around. And, every opportunity I can to speak with him, I make sure I go out of my way and do so.
Very good. Okay. Well, obviously you have a pro team in town called the Daytona Tortugas, the affiliate for the Cincinnati Reds. You play at Jackie Robinson Park. And so let's talk about the access that you have. I know that when we talked about it, I'm going to go over some of the things and then you can fill in the blanks. Okay. You say that you have full access to the facility from September to April and that you rent the facility from the Tortugas. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a partnership with the Daytona Tortugas, and it's something that, I still remember to my first meeting in the fall of 2018 with Jim Jaworski, who's the general manager of the Daytona Tortugas. And it's like, hey, this is a blank canvas, let it be what you want it to be. It's definitely not one-sided. It's something that we definitely do take care of that stadium because it is our home ballpark when we are there. And it's been a pleasure to work with, Jim Jaworski and the partners over at Daytona with the Daytona Tortugas, because again, it is a business relationship. And it's been a pleasure to have access to a beautiful facility, all turf field, lights are coming up. You have the brand new scoreboard that was put on the AstroTurf that the city of Daytona Beach, decided to put in. And now with all these things going on with, Major League Baseball shrinking, minor league baseball, at some point,
right,
if you remember, the Tortugas were on that contractual list. Well, the Daytona Tortugas are the heart of the city. We all understand we have the beach, we have everything else, but the Tortugas are the main focal point of Daytona Beach, Florida, and minor league baseball. So the city of Daytona Beach made a commitment of $4 million for upgrades into stadium renovations. And that's something that's, for us, it benefits because we get to have our players on a professional ballpark day in and day out. We're the only Division I baseball program in the state of Florida that is all turf field. So, we take that, very serious and we take it to heart. And yes, it is the Daytona Tortugas ballpark, but it has Bethune Cookman written all over it as well.
Well, sure. It's a great tool to recruit for recruiting. My goodness, you're playing in a major league sanctioned facility for the most part, so it helps recruiting. Yes, you have the benefit of a pro ballpark, and it doesn't hurt to have Jackie Robinson's name on it. And if anybody knows anything about the history of baseball, Jackie Robinson, my goodness, get much bigger than him. So as we talk about that and we break down the season, I know that the minor league season has been composed of 6 away games. Okay, and then of course you're able to slide into the away games slot due to the scheduling. So it's really neat the way they incorporated that type of scheduling this year. Now I want to preface what you also said, that the Daytona Tortugas were spared, and the Charlotte Stone Crabs, formerly of the Tampa Bay Rays, were the ones that were out there. And I know that Bob Fragole Jr., who's part owner of that team, had a lot to do with it, along with Jim Jaworski. So I want to make sure we got those specific facts in. But let's talk about the minor league season, where you have basically, as they would say, 6, so many on, so many off, but you have 6 away, and then you guys sliding in. How convenient is that, and how much do you like that scheduling, the way it works out?
I think for us, since the minor league season doesn't really begin until April, May, once they slide in, it just comes down to communication, with us and with Jim Jaworski and the Daytona Tortugas, where, hey, look, this is a conference series that we're going to just have to play here. Is it okay? And they'll make some arrangements, but it goes both ways. If it's something where minor league baseball or major league baseball says, hey, we can't move these dates because we have a certain event going on, well, so be it. We'll make the appropriate changes that need to be made in order for our players to play in an adequate ballpark conducive to host a collegiate weekend of baseball, whether that's at Embry-Riddle, down the street here in Daytona, whether that's at Sanford Stadium, 30, 40 minutes away from our ballpark, then so be it. But we'll make accommodations as needed. I enjoy the 6-game home, 6-game away as a baseball fan, because you're able to see your players for a consistent amount of time. And it works out too, being here at a pro ballpark, because we all know every baseball player, whether it's a high school kid, a college kid, their dream is to go play professionally at some point in their career. I mean, I wanted to be a big leaguer, and the big leagues didn't want me, but we have an opportunity where we have the Daytona Tortugas, who's a pro team, here playing as we start our fall semester. So every year we tell our guys, hey, you guys want to play minor league baseball or major league baseball, go down to Jackie Robinson Ballpark and go catch yourself a minor league game. Go a little bit earlier, look at what the players look like. How do you match up well with X, Y, and Z type player? Try and find someone that you can emulate your game around. And don't forget, fellas, this is still A-ball. These guys are way, they still have time before they get to the big leagues, but it definitely helps our players to find some perspective as to what it means to be a professional baseball athlete.
So tell me, how often do you run across those scheduling conflicts where you have to make alters? It doesn't seem like you really run across them that much, maybe occasionally, because it seems like the scheduling appears to work out all right for you.
Yeah, it works out. I mean, I think for this upcoming season, it was 2 series. It's a conference series for us when we're hosting a team from Tallahassee coming in, but that's opening weekend for the Tortugas. So absolutely, I understand, like, hey, we're not moving that. That's the Tortugas opening weekend. And then there's another one that we just had to switch some dates around, but again, it all falls down to communication. As long as we do this thing early, we get everything prepped up, ready to go. We'll have some things that we have to adjust. And if it's something where I myself have to call a head coach at another program and say, hey, can we flip dates? Instead of you coming to Daytona on these days, let us go to you. Then, later down the season, when there's an opening, you come down. And, all the coaches, especially in the conference, are very flexible because they know what our situation is about, obviously sharing the facility with a professional baseball team.
Well, one thing about playing a facility like Jackie Robinson Ballpark, nobody can sit there and say the statistics are tainted at all, because you are measuring with major league dimensions, which they're evaluated objectively.
Absolutely, no doubt. And that's the benefit that we have, being there at Jackie Robinson Ballpark is, everything is, kind of scaled objectively. And, we put our guys in that situation day in and day out. where if they do get an opportunity to play pro ball and, they come back to Daytona now, they were once a part of that field as a Bethune Cookman baseball player. And now they're coming back to Jackie Robinson Ballpark as a professional baseball player.
Let's talk about historic Black College. I know that during this winter here, you probably had to benefit a little bit by Jackson State's football success with Deion Sanders proving that you could win at a historic Black college. I know that there's a lot of name, image, and likeness money, which we could probably get on a different show. So it just goes to show you that whether you're a historic Black college or you're not, that these schools are pretty good. Don't sell them short. And I gotta believe that the situation with Deion Sanders only makes your job a little bit easier, doesn't it?
To a certain extent it does, because he definitely did, put the spotlight on HBCUs. And I think that there's a lot of coaches that have been fighting for that, and prime time, comes on and, he's a Hall of Famer. He's done incredible things, not only on the football side, but on the baseball side. But, just the fact that he was able to bring that light and shine that light, not just on Jackson State, but on HBCUs across the country, it's huge, for each and every one of us that's involved. And yes, he's at Jackson State, we get it, but we can't take away the message that he's been trying to tell everybody is like, hey, you don't have to go to a Power 5 to succeed. You don't have to go to a Power 5 to X, Y, and Z to get drafted. I mean, even in our own program, we've had over 50 baseball players that have been drafted by professional organizations at Bethune-Cookman University. Most recently in 2019, we had an 11th rounder go to the Miami Marlins, Anthony Maldonado, who was a right-handed pitcher who spent some time in AA. Demetrius Sims in 2017, shortstop, was drafted by the Miami Marlins. Joseph Fernando, he's with the Atlanta Braves. I mean, there's names that we can go on and on and on, not just at Bethune-Cookman, but all HBCUs, across the stage, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, any sport that you have the ability to do what you need to do, you're going to be sought out, you're going to be found. So the fact that, Coach Deion Sanders went ahead and shined that light on HBCUs, I think it was very important, especially during the climate of our times. And it's great, that he's been able to provide that for not only Jackson State, but HBCUs across all different levels across the country.
Well, sure. He's a big name pioneer trying to promote that level of competition. More power to Deion Sanders. I mean,
absolutely.
He played baseball real well, with the Cincinnati Reds. He was a pretty good baseball player and an even better football player. So as we talk about Bethune-Cookman, I want to educate our audience a little bit that you guys have had 19 championships in 22 years, which is pretty impressive in its own right. So with that said, Coach, okay, let's talk about your recruiting a little bit. Where do you find these ball players? What's your recruiting base?
I'm from South Florida, so we definitely have a stronghold in South Florida. We have a stronghold in Puerto Rico. With COVID, with us opting out of the 2021 season, it definitely opened up the avenue for us to attack different parts of the country. We've had players here from Arizona, out west. Our former pitching coach was from Nogales, Arizona. He's currently now the pitching coach at New Mexico State University. So he brought the West Coast flavor down here to the East Coast. And we just, listen, any player that is going to give us the opportunity to win ball games, that's going to fit our system and what we want to accomplish, but at the same time can hold themselves accountable to the off the field responsibilities of being a student first, athlete second, being on time, and doing what they need to do to represent not only the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats baseball program, but representing their families when they're away and here in Florida. As long as we find those kids, we're going to be okay. But we're not scared to recruit nationally. We have players from all over, the country. But yeah, South Florida, is a stronghold for us just because, I coached high school there. I coached junior college there. I served as, the relationships we have in South Florida, but, anywhere, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, it don't matter. If it's a player that is identified through the recruiting process, that's going to be able to help us win ball games, but at the same time, not lose fact that, hey, you're a student first. We want to be able to develop, yes, on the field, but off the field as well.
Well, evidently, based on what we talked about earlier in the broadcast about grade point averages, I think a few people realize that there's 299 Division I baseball programs out there, and your enrollment is just under 3,000, as we talked about before. So with that said, okay, let's talk about the mission here. You talk about being of Cuban descent, so this gives you an opportunity to go ahead and if you have success, that opens up more opportunities for more minority candidates.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just, Latin candidates, but African-American candidates, I wear that, honestly, it holds true to my heart. I want to be able to pave the way for somebody, to come in and, hey, if Johnny, Hernandez was able to do it there, then let's give this guy a shot. Let's give that guy a shot. We have to be able to do that to provide opportunities, for minorities to get into the college game and continue to find sustainable success, to warrant that opportunity and to do that. For us, our program has, won, 19 championships in 22 years, and that dates back to Coach Mervel Melendez, who was a Bethune Cookman Hall of Famer. Then Jason Beverlin, who came in right after him and continued to get that train rolling here at Bethune Cookman, and he's now the pitching coach at Coastal Carolina. So there's a lot of history, but for us, the mission of our university and for our baseball program is our players are going to enter to learn and they're going to depart to serve. So yeah, it's a just under 3,000 of enrollment. It's a very special, beautiful campus here in the heart of Daytona Beach, 15-1 student to teacher ratio. So you get that personal time with, your professor. You're not just a social security number or just a class ID number. Like, the professors actually go out of their way to, understand who you are and what your name is and what your background is. I mean, there's a certain level of family environment in the Daytona Beach, Bethune Cookman community that is second to none. And I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Any mentors that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Rich Bilski, he was my high school head baseball coach when I was at Hialeah. Carlos Marti was a pitching coach, and Mervel Melendez as well has been a mentor of mine. Through my time, Tommy Duenas is another mentor of mine. I mean, I just know that I can pick up the phone and speak to them and just ask them questions, and based on their experiences, how can I kind of cater that to the experience that I'm going through, whether that's on the field and off the field situation with our players. And I can definitely pick up the phone and speak to them. And I'm very grateful, and honored that I'm able to call them, or blessed, so to speak, that I can call those guys my mentors.
I'll bring up a couple of major leaguers, tell them what they mean to you. Number one, Gio Gonzalez, the other one, Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, man, Gio Gonzalez, childhood friend of mine. We both went to Hialeah High School, grew up there in Hialeah, played in, the people from South Florida are going to understand, or, what I'm going to talk about, but played at HAA and Hialeah Core League. We grew up together, had some great times, and we still keep in contact with each other. He had a great career, 12, 13 years in the big leagues. Had an opportunity to, obviously go pitch with the Marlins and decided to retire, but a childhood friend, and someone, that's a dear friend of mine. Nestor Cortez was a player of mine at Hialeah High School. I was fortunate enough to coach him for 4 years, and he was an outfielder before, turning into a pitcher, and it was his sophomore year of high school. We were spring break tournament in Pompano Beach, championship game, and we're playing against, I believe it was Miami Springs Senior High School, and we ran out of pitching, and all the kids, coach, I can pitch, coach, I can pitch. We knew Nestor had a history of pitching, but he hadn't pitched all year, and just asked him, like, hey man, like, we just need 2 innings for you, from you, is this something you could do? He's like, yeah, Nestor's a gamer, love Nestor. I still talk to him, but I remember, man, he threw 6 innings, threw like 65 pitches, and then we ended up winning the spring break championship. And from there, we decided to have a sit down with him and his parents. And I just told them, like, hey, like, he's got an opportunity to really have a bright future on the mound. This is where he needs to really concentrate his work on, and let's see where this goes. The parents didn't want him to take the bat away. They wanted him to hit, but we made it available for him to do both. as a pitcher slash DH, and comes around his senior year, does very well, carries us to the state Final Four regional championship. And he gets drafted, signs, and he's a big leaguer in the rotation with the New York Yankees.
Now, I ask this question to every college coach, and you're no different than the rest of them, Coach Hernandez. Have you desire to coach in pro ball? Is that a goal of yours?
Not right now. I mean, maybe in the future, but for me, I just love the day-to-day interaction with our players. Just having a positive influence on them and seeing the overall growth, with our players. We can have them for 2, 3, 4 years. Pro ball is a little bit different. Guys are kind of moving up and down just based on rosters. And for me and for us, actually at Bethune Cookman, the player-coach relationship is something that we hold dear to our heart, because at the end of the day, we're going to spend a lot of time with them, whether it's Miami, whether it's from outside of the state of Florida, Puerto Rico, Georgia, California, wherever they're coming from, they're going to spend a lot of time with us. And as of right now, I'd say no. I love the college game. I love what it provides student athletes. And just to see the overall growth from when you have a player enter your program at 17, 18 years old, and they depart at 22, 23, 24 years old. It's something that I think it's pretty cool, and I enjoy that. So as of right now, I'd say no, I'm not really looking into any professional baseball opportunities.
Okay, let's look at the college game for just a moment. Something just entered my mind. Do you guys have to deal with pitch clocks and mound visits, things like that? Are there any variations from what pro ball MLB is doing that you guys have to do to prepare your guys for, whether it's, I know pitch clock, I would never want to see that, but mound visits, I get that. But let's talk about a couple basic rule changes before we wrap this bad boy up. Yeah,
I mean, we have the mound visits. We have 6 a game, and then the umpires, keep track of it. But they have us on a pitch clock as well. So some of the facilities that we do play against, they don't have a clock, I guess, visible, as do all minor league or major league ballparks. So the umpires, take care of that on their end, and we get our guys ready for that, throughout the course of the fall, and even leading into our spring practices before our season, as they get going. We put them on the clock just so they have that, they have that awareness when it comes down to, game day. It's not like a deer in headlights situation. Like, hey, I didn't know this was going on. We talk about our guys and about the rules and the different rule changes, because they need to understand what they're going to go through. It may impact the game. If you take too long throwing a pitch, that's a ball awarded to the hitter, and that can run a count, to a plus count. Whether if you're on defense, obviously, and even as a hitter, if you're not ready and the pitcher's waiting for you and you're just messing around with your batting gloves or, doing whatever, that's a strike that gets penalized against you. So we definitely, keep in touch with any rule changes. The NCAA, I think, does a good job about sending us manuals every year and updates, and the ABCA, which is our governing body for baseball coaches, they do a good job also just making sure that we understand if there's any rule changes that are going to be made, so we can prepare and properly equip not only our players but our coaches as well, and even myself to be able to deal with those rule changes.
All right, Coach Hernandez, what's your long-term vision for Bethune Cookman University?
So long-term goal, we definitely want to be the first HBCU baseball program to not only win a regional, win a super and get to Omaha. That's the goal. But we understand that it's a long road. It's not easy, and we understand that. But that's definitely the long-term goal of our baseball program. And I think too, as long as we're able to consistently have guys with good GPAs graduating, getting their bachelor's degrees, and if they pursue their master's, we're going to be there to support them. But just the fact of having, kids that are coming in, evolving into young men that are able to utilize the life lessons that baseball does teach you to be successful off the field, that's a win in my book. We get judged on wins and losses. I get that. I understand that 100%, but we want to be able to equip our players to be able to win in the game of life. And as long as they do so, then, that's going to be our proudest achievement as coaches and as role models to this generation of baseball players coming up.
All right, Coach Hernandez, you have one opportunity and one only. So why should a ball player want to attend Bethune Cookman University? Sell a lot of recruits on why they should be playing for you and the university. It's all, the floor is yours.
Well, we're right next to the world's famous beach. So we're literally just 2 minutes away from the beach. I think that'll sell it all, right? But no, I think quality education, family environment, spread across the university. Student to teacher ratio, like I touched before, is 15, 16 to 1. You get to get with a great education that's going to open up doors. There's been a ton of alumni at Bethune Cookman that are working in, Fortune 500 companies, starting their own businesses, working in professional sports. They're just all over the country. Like the Wildcats are all over the U.S. But if you're a baseball player, you want to be able to compete against top competition, and I think that's something that we provide with our non-conference schedule, and even in our conference now as we head into the Southwestern Athletic Conference for our first year this upcoming year. So not only to develop as a player, develop as a person, the whole person. And for us, we want to recruit the person first and the player second. So there's multiple angles that we can go on this. And but it comes down to acquiring a quality education, developing not only as a player, but as a human being as well, and being surrounded with people that are really going to trust and care, and always going to have the end in sight where you're going to enter to learn and depart to serve at Bethune Cookman University.
Yeah, no shortage of surfboards. Everybody realizes that you can drive on the beach. And do you find that some of your youngsters actually enjoy the bar scene a little bit, since there's probably a few more out there?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a homebody anyways, so I'll go out and just have dinner with the wife and the two kids and come home. But for the most part, we enjoy our time here, and we live 15 minutes south of Daytona Beach. And I think with this whole COVID stuff or whatever, things kind of like slowed down a little bit. But it is what it is. It's like everywhere, like even in Miami, I'm sure people go to the bars and do what they need to do. But here it's really mild, very chill, so to speak, like how the youngsters say that, I guess.
Right.
But it's been good. I've enjoyed my experience, and I know that my wife and my two kids have enjoyed their experience so far here in Daytona Beach for the last 3.5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, I love going to Daytona for a lot of reasons. First of all, I'm very enjoy going to the Daytona International Speedway for one, and of course my work with the Daytona Tortugas, and now the relationship that you and I have built as well professionally is certainly another reason for me to come to your neck of the woods. So, folks, just I'm being joined by Coach John Hernandez. He head baseball coach over at Bethune Cookman University. This is the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth, the Motor City Badmouth. Our first show of the year. Certainly enjoy doing these broadcasts. And just so you know, folks, you can find our broadcast at www.southfloridatribune.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. You can also subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel by just clicking the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to get the video there. And of course, wherever you get your podcast, whether it's through iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Apple, Spotify, and the rest. So, and I mentioned Coach Hernandez and I came in contact with on Twitter, and you can find us there at Tribune South. But our website, we have lots of different ways we get there. We encourage you to go out there and share the broadcast, folks, because you know what, when you have an opportunity to bring a guy like Coach Hernandez on here, it's a real treat to have you on there to be able to promote a program that probably doesn't get as much publicity as a lot of the big ones out there. But, it's all about making sure that this platform is designed to give everybody an opportunity to promote themselves and bring awareness to other schools out there, because you may not get that big opportunity at a larger school, but at least the one thing you can definitely do is feel like you treat all of your student athletes like family. Correct, Coach?
Absolutely, no doubt. And then we want to go ahead and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about our program and giving us this platform as well. Again, small program, play a big schedule, and we'll keep going at it, day in and day out. But I definitely do thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to speak on behalf of our Bethune Cookman baseball program here in Daytona Beach.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And again, social media is pretty powerful. I have a lot of good connections on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and the rest. And, when somebody like you, who's a South Florida guy, reaches out to us and just shows that you are looking for us, this was a no-brainer bringing you on this show. And we're glad that we're able to do it. And by the way, just so I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, you guys will be hosting Youngstown State on February 18th, 2022. So any way that let people know how they get a hold of you in the program before we wrap her up.
Yeah, they can go to bcuathletics.com on the baseball page. My email's there, but on Twitter, at JDH Hearns, which is HERNS30. That's my Twitter handle. On Instagram at JDH30. And they can reach me by email at hernandezj@cookman, COOKMAN.edu. And as you said, Scott, we do host Youngstown State February 18th, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of Tortuga fans that, just kind of ask themselves, hey, what are we doing once the Tortugas season ends? Well, you can get a preview of the Bethune Cookman Wildcats baseball program at Jackie Robinson Ballpark, February 18th, 7 p.m. first pitch against the Penguins of Youngstown State University.
Yeah, and I should point out some about Jackie Robinson Ballpark. This isn't just any normal ballpark. This is a museum honoring Jackie Robinson. So what's it like for you to actually, now that it has come up, to be able to play in a ballpark where there's so much history connected to the iconic Jackie Robinson himself? I mean, that to me has to be special. And does that also come involved with the recruiting a little bit as well?
Oh, absolutely. Comes in with recruiting. It's what I call is a once in a lifetime opportunity, to be able to actually have your home games in a museum that is for Jackie Robinson because of everything that he was able to do. And he was a pioneer, of everything that he was able to do for, not only Major League Baseball, the Dodgers, African Americans, just paving the way for everyone that he needed to pave the way for. So it's special. At night, there's just something about that ballpark. There's a mystique around it when it's 7 p.m. The lights are on. You have the breeze from the coast right off of City Island City Island Park. It's beautiful. And, as soon as you walk in through the gates, you see on your left-hand side just all the history and the museum, of Jackie Robinson. So again, I'm just fortunate and blessed to be the head coach here at Bethune-Cookman University. Any opportunity that we can to share in that mystique at Jackie Robinson Ballpark, we're definitely going to get an opportunity to do so.
All right. Well, our first show of the year, baseball's in the air. And tonight, Coach John Hernandez and myself, Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Mad Mouth, are glad to bring it to you. Lockout or no lockout, we unlock the door here to bring you some good, a great baseball opportunity and some awareness of the great American pastime. Well, Coach Hernandez, I want to thank you very much for being on this edition of the Sports Exchange. We hope you had a great holiday season, and we hope you have a great new year as well. And I look forward to meeting you when we finally get together in person. So take care, and thanks for doing this, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you. And hail Wildcats.
You got it. Go Wildcats.